Hi, everybody. I'm Gloria Moraga. This is the Political Woman Podcast. I'm calling this episode of Political Woman Trump, the Dictator, Project 2025, Destroying America. Imagine an America with a dictator, a man with complete power over the federal government. How is this accomplished? Well, first, you control the budget, the money. You centralize. You give the dictator the power to determine what government agencies remain open and which are funded. And what's the criteria? Well, the agencies must adhere to the dictator's policies. If they don't, they are gone. There are no longer protection for workers at those agencies. If you are loyal to the dictator, you stay. If not, you lose your job. Sounds horrible. I'm Gloria Moraga, Political Woman. Please subscribe. I'm doing something a little bit different in this podcast. I am going to quote from a brilliant piece of reporting in the New York Times. This kind of gives us a clue as to what could happen in America if there is another Trump administration. Trump the Dictator, Project 2025, Destroying America. The New York Times story I'm quoting from is called Trump and Allies Forge Plan to Increase Presidential Power in 2025. It is from the New York Times, and it was written by Jonathan Swan, Charlie Savage, and Maggie Haberman. Their story was published in the Times on July 17th. The story is just pure, great journalism, just a joy to read. It is documented with interviews and facts. At the heart of the story is this fact. Trump and his would-be fascist friends and allies aren't keeping their plans secret. They want their plot to destroy our democratic republic out in the open. Their goal is to give more power to the executive branch, meaning Donald Trump. They say that the Constitution never really meant to give 3 branches of government equal power. Oh no, it's been a lie all these years. So, since this is all out in the open, they have information on their websites. They are doing interviews. It's all out there. I'll just be quoting how the Times reporters break it all down. This section I call Taking Control of Government Agencies. Quote, Mr. Trump intends to bring independent agencies like the Federal Communications Commission, which makes and enforces rules for television and internet companies, and the Federal Trade Commission, which enforces various antitrust and other consumer protection rules against businesses. They want to bring those under direct presidential control, unquote. As you know, I worked in television news for years, and the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, has rules that protect all of us, protect viewers, listeners, consumers. It protects us, we the people. Trump and his allies want to get away with that. They want to give more power to big business. That's the bottom line. Same with the Federal Trade Commission. It helps protect us from big businesses becoming all powerful. Why would Trump want to do this? Power, money, control. Let's look at Trump's plan for controlling the money. Impounding funds. This is a quote from the article. He wants to revive the practice of impounding funds, refusing to spend money Congress has appropriated for programs a president doesn't like. This is a tactic that lawmakers banned under President Richard Nixon. They banned it, quote, after Nixon used the practice to aggressively block agency spending he was opposed to on water pollution control, housing construction, and other issues. Congress banned this tactic under Nixon. Trump wants it back. On his campaign website, Trump declared that presidents have a constitutional right to impound funds, and he said he would restore the practice, although he acknowledged it could result in a legal battle. Yeah, but how much of a legal battle? Especially if Congress, Republicans in Congress and the MAGAs win control of both houses. And that's me talking. He wants to replace public servants, some government workers. Quote, he intends to strip employment protections from tens of thousands of career civil servants, making it easier to replace them if they are deemed obstacles to his agenda. And he plans to scour the intelligence agencies, the State Department, and the defense bureaucracies to remove officials he has vilified as, quote, the sick political class that hates our country, end quote. Disloyal. Sweep out the disloyal. The Times article says that John McEntee, a former White House personnel chief, began Trump's systematic attempt to sweep out officials deemed to be disloyal in 2020. That same man, John McEntee, is now involved in mapping out the new approach that they want to put into place if Trump wins re-election. Now, this brings us to Schedule F, or as some called it, the Schedule F-bomb. In October 2020, Trump signed an executive order which established a new Schedule F employment category for federal employees. It targeted employees in confidential, policy determining, policy making, or policy advocating positions, and instructs agency heads to determine which current employees fit this description and move them into this new classification. This would make it easier to fire exempt civil servants. What he wants to do here is just, if he disagrees with the people that say, oh no, you can't do that because it will hurt our environment. Oh no, you can't do that because it's going to destroy our country. On and on and on. He wants to get rid of them if they disagree with him because it's too much trouble. It's too much trouble to have to follow the rules. Yeah, it sounds like a dictatorship, doesn't it? Yeah, it sounds like an autocracy, not a democratic republic. When Joe Biden won, he signed a new executive order right away, which removed this F-bomb policy. And he said this, quote, career civil servants are the backbone of the federal workforce, providing the expertise and experience necessary for the critical functioning of the federal government. And then Joe Biden went on, it is the policy of the United States to protect, empower, and rebuild the career federal workforce. Trump promises to bring back Schedule F so he and the MAGAs can fire civil servants and replace them with their cronies. And then, since they're admitting all of this, the Times article has this quote, what we are trying to do is identify the pockets of independence and seize them, said Russell T. Vought, who ran the Office of Management and Budget in the Trump White House and now runs a policy organization, the Center for Renewing America. End quote. Yeah. They call it the Center for Renewing America. I call it the Center for Destroying America as we know it, because they want to create an autocracy. They want to create a dictatorship headed by the dictator, Trump. So why are they talking about this? Why is there information on websites and talking points, and they've got people working on this? They want to claim a mandate. By talking about it now, later they can say, this is what American voters want. We were elected to do this. We had it all out in the open that we're going to make Trump this all-powerful man, and you voted for him, right? So he wins, and that's what we're doing. They could say they won back the White House, and they talked about doing this, and they have a mandate, and that's what America wants. They want a dictatorship with Trump in charge. They want to be able to give tax cuts to the rich corporations, be damned with clean water, and everything else. Now, this is from the article. It comes from Trump spokesman Stephen Chung, and he said, quote, Trump will supercharge the economy, bring down inflation, secure the border, protect communities, and eradicate the, quote, deep state that works against Americans once and for all, end quote. How crazy are they? I mean, they're really effing crazy. First of all, Joe Biden has brought down inflation. Joe Biden's economy is supercharged. Trump never secured the border. He never did any of that. He says he did it, but he did not do it. Trump didn't protect communities. More Americans died from COVID. In the deep state, it's a figment of their freaking imagination, because that's all they've got, my friends. Trump never did any of these things, and he had a chance, and he blew it. And then the article goes on to say this, quote, the two driving forces of this effort to reshape the executive branch are Trump's own campaign policy shop and a well-funded network of conservative groups, many of which are populated by former senior Trump administration officials who would most likely play key roles in his second term. All right, there you go. It's just like what they've done to the Supreme Court. These rich conservatives pay for some of the members of the Supreme Court so they can get anything they want. Here we go. These men are involved in Project 2025. It's a $22 million presidential transition operation that is preparing policies, personnel lists, and transition plans that they will recommend to any Republican who may win the 2024 election. So they're going to have all the Republicans in on this. Project 2025 sounds like something out of a futuristic horror movie, and that's what it is. That's end quote. That's from the Times. And I say they are planning to destroy our country. Project 2025 is led by the Heritage Foundation. When I worked in Washington, I went to the Heritage Foundation many times. It is a think tank that it has these ultra right-wing conservatives plotting and coming up with plans to help big business and screw the rest of us. It's a think tank that shaped the personnel and policies of the Reagan administration. So it's been around since the Reagan presidency. The Times story also documents that Trump's people tried to do some of this stuff that we're talking about in the last Trump presidency, but they were too disorganized. There were too many people who refused to go along. Too many of those civil servants said, "You can't do that. It's illegal." And here's a quote: "The agenda being pursued has deep roots in the decades-long effort by conservative legal thinkers to undercut what has become known as the administrative state. Agencies that enact regulations aimed at keeping the air and water clean, and food and drugs and consumer products safe, but that cut into business profits." End quote. That's from the Times article. And my friends, it all goes back to money. Business profits and money. More money for the rich while we can just, well, play Russian roulette with food and air and clean water. And water's going to be huge with what we got going on with global warming. They're going to weaponize water. You wait and see. Unless we do something about this now, unless we vote. So there is actually a legal theory that is behind all of this, and I'm going to quote from the article again. The legal theory was developed by Reagan administration conservatives. It's called the maximalist version of the so-called unitary executive theory. I know, it's a lot of big words. Quote, "This maximalist version of the unitary executive theory, quote, rejects the idea that the government is composed of three separate branches with overlapping powers to check and balance each other. Instead, the theory argues that Article 2 of the Constitution gives the president complete control of the executive branch, so Congress cannot empower agency heads to make decisions or restrict the president's ability to fire them." End quote. So when I read this, I went to the Constitution. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution reads, "The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America." But in Section 2, there's also a vague sentence that says, well, he has the power to make appointments, which we know that. I mean, he has the power to do a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that he has all the power. This is a quote from the Times article, and it's from some fascist right-winger. Quote, "The notion of independent federal agencies or federal employees who don't answer to the president violates the very foundation of our democratic republic," says Kevin D. Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, adding that the contributors to Project 2025 are committed to, quote, "dismantling the rogue administrative state." I have to take a breath. Wow. And Trump, well, he's on the record. He said this in 2019. He declared to a cheering crowd, quote, "I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president." Yeah, they're plotting. They've been plotting this. Now they know what they need to do, and they're going to do it. Trump promised to find and remove the radicals who have infiltrated the federal Department of Education. And he listed a whole bunch of other targets and departments he's going to get rid of. He did that at a rally last month. And he said this, quote, "We will demolish the deep state," Mr. Trump said at a rally in Michigan. "We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. And we will throw off the sick political class that hates our country." End quote. Wow. Yeah, they're really good at gaslighting. And they need to look at the mirror because a lot of these plans sound fascist to me. I read this article. I've read it about 4 times now. Okay, yes, maybe I'm going overboard here, but I wanted to be clear on the article before I did this podcast. This is frightening. People that I listen to, their podcasts, I hear them say that if Trump wins re-election, they'll be hunted down and removed. And when I read articles like this, which is fully documented, and I went to websites and I confirmed everything that they were saying in the article, which they've done their reporting, it's frightening. And it's another reason why we can't be complacent. Right now, they're destroying our rights, our civil liberties. Someone said, are they planning to take away all women's rights? And it's like, lady, they already have. Women already do not have the right to medical privacy. We've lost that. The Supreme Court took it away from us a year ago. We've lost it. And we're not going to get it back without a big fight. And they're planning. They're plotting. We're losing democracy. We're losing America. It's disappearing just right before our eyes. It's like Dorothy looking at the sands going through the hourglass. It's important that we all know what's going on and that we all vote and that we're aware of what they're trying to do. Because you don't want to wake up one day and find it's over. You know what's going on right now in Israel? It's another podcast. But what's happening there is what could happen here. Netanyahu is seizing control, and they're rioting in the streets to try to stop him. And I almost want to say it's too late. It's too late. This should have happened a year ago. We still have some time, but we have to be vigilant. I'm Gloria Moraga, political woman. Please subscribe. Please follow me on TikTok and YouTube, and be safe.